Well, this is the first time I've ever done this. I'm taking a cue from Mark Maron's WTF when one of their past guests passes away. Mark will always re-release the episode and do a little tribute, which I've always respected. And just, I'm a little raw right now. So I learned about the passing of Matthew Stewart today. I was a fan of his for years and years. And one time I got to meet him in the early aughts when they played in New York City. And then years later through Sonetta, after about a year of trying, he agreed to do Let's Chat. Matt, and pretty much anyone in the Streetlight Manifesto, they don't do interviews. They're super media shy. I was just so confused, but always happy that he said yes to coming on my show. And he enjoyed it so much, we actually did another episode, the three of us. I don't think we even talked about Streetlight at all. It was just about God and philosophy and what's it like to be black in America. And that episode was never released for reasons. We're going to figure out what to do with it now if it's possible. And hopefully that will now see the light of day. But, man, Matt became one of those people who came on the show, and then we stayed in touch. Like, we became friends. We became friends. Sonetta, Matt, and I have had a thread and talked pretty frequently. And he's always so supportive of the show, and we'd talk about, like, business and jazz and aliens and weed and stuff. It's one of the most introspective people I've ever met. And he seemed to really understand the fandom and I don't know if the fandom's the right word, the community that was surrounded by Streetlight Manifesto. So many wonderful people that we met from the Friends of Streetlight Manifesto group. Like, he seemed to get it. He knew that, how crazy. He was someone who could get up on stage and play in front of thousands of people and then just walk off stage and just be like, hey. I mean, when they played in Boston, Matt was really kind last December and invited me, put me on the guest list to go see them when they played with Botar, which is Bandits of the Acoustic Revolution, which is Streetlight Manifesto with an orchestra. I met Sonetta that night for the first time in real life, and a whole bunch of wonderful friends from the Friends of Streetlight Manifesto, and it was a really special night. Well, Sonetta and her boyfriend Tyler and I hung out afterwards, waiting for Matt, and the dude played that show, killed it, and came out in very cold weather after the show had ended, just to hang out with me, Sonetta, and Tyler. And one of my favorite memories is just, like, smoking a blunt after the show with Matt and talking about, like, the fervor method of parenting. And one of the most introspective people, he would just say things, and I was like, well, how do you think of that? Matt was the only person that could talk about jazz, and I would actually care. It's been a rough day. I just want to say thank you to Matt for melting our faces off at all those shows. And for anyone out there who's struggling or feeling grief right now, I'd love to direct you to the Friends of Streetlight Manifesto Facebook group. There's a lot of us in there really sharing memories and pictures and videos. And, I've lost a lot of people in my life. And the thing that you always miss the most is their voice. Now in this age of social media, it's not impossible to find someone's voice. But it's just, what an honor that I can get to have a hour-long conversation with this person that I got to record and share with the world, and hopefully another one. Thank you, Sonetta Duncan, so much for making sure that episode happened and connecting Matt and I, and really solidifying a really cool friendship. Like, it's a great feeling, and it's a cool feeling and a little surreal when you get to befriend your heroes. I love you, man. And here's to life, and here's our episode from a few years back. Let's get to it.
I'm looking up Sonetta's information right now, so I know who I'm dealing with right now.
I never said I wasn't a gotcha journalist.
That's true. Actually, that's kind
Yeah, I'm looking up who you are. Wow, you produced a movie? That's true.
I produced a couple movies.
Jeez, I haven't produced it. Wow.
Do you
You
have a
produce
lot
music.
of
Let's see.
Are there any like gotcha music journalists you ever have to deal with, or people are like trying to make you like talk crap on someone or something like that? Does that happen?
I guess this would be a question for me. I guess since it's a music thing.
Oh yeah. I should have used your name. I apologize.
Okay, it's like I'm busy stalking Sonetta right now to see who I'm on this interview, right? You know, with.
You're like, I could have done this earlier, but why not right until we started? Right. That's what I like. That's what I like.
Don't stalk me.
Oh yeah, because it's like a little bit. Oh my gosh, I had no idea this is. Okay, I had no idea. I don't even know what these TV. I don't watch TV.
Really?
Like at all. So I have no bearing for any of, it looks very well produced,
Actually, how do you two, Matt and Sonetta, how do you know each other? I mean, I think I know the answer, but I want to see if I'm right.
What's your guess?
Yeah, that's good.
Streetlight, right? Like, if it's not from the Streetlight band, then I don't even know what else I would guess, because Matt doesn't watch TV, so that's out of it. I was like, look, obviously you watched her movies, but no.
No, not at all. I knew she wrote things, but she didn't tell me she like made movies. Like, I think you mentioned it once, but you kept it really low. You know what I'm saying? I have no idea. That was it. Yeah, I think I saw you at a concert. Was that you? You were standing on a guardrail. I thought you were like 6'6" tall. I thought you were like 6 foot 6 tall. Yeah. And and then I think we chatted like a half a year later and you weren't as tall. And, that was pretty much it. But yeah, I knew you did movie stuff because we had talked. But it's like, I didn't even watch TV. I didn't know you did like movie stuff.
Well, we met in, and I was standing on the guardrail thing because I like to climb shit. And, then next time when I saw you, you're like, whoa, you shrank.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, okay, because that was cooler for me, because I'm like 5'6". I was like, wow, this girl plays volleyball and things,
Just hockey.
Yeah,
I'm 5'6" too. I feel you.
Yeah, so it was a thing, but yeah, I had no idea. Yeah, and I think we had chatted a couple times online. I didn't know you were a movie heavy, but I know you write in long paragraphs, so there's long thoughts going on.
My essays.
And I like to keep my thoughts like, little bullets. They're very short. They don't always hit the target, but there's a lot of them. And do
you ever get voice memos?
Yeah, I mean, voice memos are just like, hey, maybe I'll remember that. If I don't, wasn't meant to exist. It wasn't meant to be around if I don't remember that old thing. Yeah, like for you guys, I woke up from a nap at like 8:53, and it's like, let me be awake.
That's awesome.
Let me be awake for another hour before I actually talk to these folks.
Splash the water on your face.
Yeah,
we appreciate that. You, man, you're pretty media. Is it fair to say media shy? Like, I was doing my research, it was hard to find a lot of interviews with you.
Yeah, I am media. Would I say media shy? No, I'd say more media, more media constipated. I would say, because it's such a heavy thing in my life that I have no idea what it does because I'm old. I'm like 39 years old, so it's like I have no idea what any of anything does. Like the fact that we could do the same we could make this thing happen, and other things like this are happening on platforms for millions and billions of dollars with men who wrestle. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's completely beyond me, like the new scope of things and the accessibility of people to make really dope shit collaboratively with folks. So it's still a thing where it's like, well, not like a lot of people do ask to interview me, but if they do, I kind of shy away because I'm always like, I'm going to say something stupid at some point in the
That's me too.
I mean, I'm sure you don't I mean, I wouldn't think that like a writer would think that, you know what I'm saying?
No, it's
You know?
always in the back of my head. I'm like, I'm gonna say that one thing, and then I'm gonna think about it for the next year, and
Yes.
then
That's my experience. That's my experience with meeting most people. So it's like I
That's so
tend to
funny.
avoid that. I tend to avoid that anyway. Like if you come to the shows and stuff, I'm kind of talking people, but yeah, most of the time it's like you're hiding away as to not, ruin somebody's idea of who you might be
Hmm.
before they meet you. You know what I'm saying?
I
If
did
that
one
makes
interview once. It was an Australian production crew that came to Toronto, and they were interviewing like female filmmakers. And
hmm
this was years ago, and I still to this day have not seen the actual documentary. I don't know if it's in post or they just like decide to scrap it. But
hmm
still to this day, I'm like, what did I say? What did I say?
I saw one kid interviewed me. It was at a Warp Tour we played. I had
Nice.
just come off a stage. I was talking all types of crazy nonsense, all type like incoherent shit. Like it was pretty bad. It was a pretty bad interview. Yeah, so I kind of avoid them. I think this thing is like a year or two in the making, actually.
This
Yeah,
podcast,
yeah,
yeah. It's been
yeah.
Yeah,
You've actually been on my list for a very long time. And
this
then I
is
met
like
Sonetta
because
because
yeah,
we
I
talked to
talked
I
to.
talked to Pete last year.
Yes, I
I
heard
think
that.
around.
Wow, that was a
Oh,
whole
thanks,
last
man.
year ago.
Yeah, it was around now, I think, right? Because I know I remember like talking about COVID and how like I think it must. I remember Pete being like, "Yeah, I'm supposed to be at what's that place in Colorado?
Oh,
Something
Yeah,
Red
Red
Rocks."
Rock.
Rocks.
Red Rocks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you were supposed to be playing with Sublime the night we interviewed him. Like, and I remember like we were saying before. I don't know. I remember making like a really bad joke and being like, "Oh God," and everyone was polite. But I remember like the next 3 weeks being like, "Why did I say that? Why did I say that?" So I
It's
guess we
so
all have
weird.
that.
It's
We
so
all
crazy.
overthink it. Yeah, we all overthink
And
ourselves, but you don't judge other people usually.
and I edit this
Yeah.
shit. I have
I th-
edit power, and I still don't take it out. I'm like, well, I have to do this for some integrity that I don't know why I believe so strongly in, but I do. If it makes me look
exactly.
bad, I'm like, that's fine. I don't care. But if it's somebody else, never.
Yeah, like the authenticity of the thing is the most paramount. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm pretty free and open, but it's like Sonetta is like she's like a safe of information and stuff.
I do have many informations.
Yes, of both informations you have. Yeah, because I would have looked you up earlier. I'd never, I don't even know what all these things are that are on this IMDb right now. There's a whole lot of things. Like, how do we even get
Oh
in there?
god.
You know,
You
it's
know?
funny. That's so funny, Matt, because Sonetta and I actually talk about this a lot, and how like you and like musicians to me are like magicians. I have
Yeah.
absolutely no idea how you make the noises come out of the trumpet or anyone like
Oh
writes a song.
wow.
Like my brain, like I love music. I grew up with music. I'm like a fanatic of it. Like obviously a huge Streetlight fan. I've seen many times. But like I've sit in front of a drum. If I sit behind a drum set, I can like get my hands to move. The second I move my feet, my brain just stops. Like I couldn't learn.
Huh.
And so it's just so funny that you're saying all that. I was like, to me, I look at you like a magician. I'm like, you get up there and have like superpowers. I have no idea how you do that.
You
Dude,
know
I
what?
just bought. Oh, sorry, Matt. Go for it.
No, go right ahead. No, you please go. Please go. Please.
I was just gonna say I just bought a trumpet. Well, actually, months ago now, I bought the trumpet. I have
Wow.
no idea how this thing works, like at all. Like I'm like, this does not work like the flute. I don't get it.
Trumpet
I
is
can't figure
weird,
it out
man.
for shit.
Yeah, the trumpet is a nut instrument because if you think about it, it's always telling somebody something else is happening. Like it's always like ever since like the trumpet's been around, it's either been like the king is coming or an army is coming, where
Right.
like That's like the only place it really lives. It doesn't like a flute, you know, you can play these melodies on it. And you can play those on a trumpet, but mostly like the trumpet exists to be like, nah, this is about to go down. Like, you know, so it has this personality about it where it's like, you know, it just being around, it expects the rest of society to you know, kind of pay attention. It's like, nah, something's about to go down. I'm just here. You know, I'm here, so you guys are you're in for a treat. Something's about to go down.
I love that. I've never thought of that.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, that's the thing. That's what it's doing, you know. And it's like, because that's the thing with the interview. It's like you have the personalities that instruments are, and then you got adulthood when you're supposed to remove that. And I swear to God, the reason you guys like Streetlight Manifesto is because I never removed that. I've never taken that out of the character of that instrument. Like the band is doing what it's doing, but like that trumpet part is, you know, the trumpet part is it's trying to deliver service to a huge swath of people that it can, you know. It's like it's kind of foretelling the oncoming of something. You know, I try and keep it over there in character. And you know, as a healthy minded adult, you're supposed to be able to separate the story world from the real world, and I've never really wanted to.
Me neither. That's artists.
Yeah, I've never really wanted to do that. They tell me to do that for like, you know, survival. But I'm like, you know,
survival.
Yeah, kind of. And it's like, what's the nature of it? You know, we both live in kind of soft countries, you know, so it's kind of choose your illusion out here. You can choose the one of the taxpayer. You can choose the one of the maniac. You can choose the one of, you know. It's a thing, yeah. So that's why I don't talk about it.
I love it. You know, it makes sense too because of the Streetlight show. Like, you know, you're about to get your face punched. Like, you know, sometimes literally and sometimes just with like the gobsmack of the performance you're about to see. I'm sure you've heard this because obviously you're in the band. But Streetlight is one of like maybe 3 or 4 bands where I have friends who like work in the industry where the sound guy actually likes the concert, and that never happens. Like Streetlight is like one of the few bands, and that's how you judge them. Like the sound guy is like, you look over, it's you. Whenever I see a Streetlight, the sound guy is always bobbing.
Yeah, and you know what? We take that as a high honor because they see everybody. Like, because usually everybody. Like, there's been time right before we show up where it's been like Guar. Some nights it's been Snoop right before us. You know, and it's the same group of people running the thing. I call them the lifers. They get to be involved in it no matter what. They wear all black during the day. You see what I'm saying? They wear all black. They're in the group. They're the lifers. You'll find them at festivals. You know, the stuff Sonetta does. You know, she's one of them. Production, you wear all black during the day.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I'm showing up. You're a lifer, and it's like if people like me show up, I have no idea what's going on. None. You know. So it's not going.
I just got my trumpet.
Yeah, you know, but
I make the doot-toots.
It's making the doot-toots. It's so weird, guys, because it's like, all right, let me tell you the story. Like, I don't know anything about ska music. My favorite ska band is The Police.
All right.
Yeah, like I know nothing about the genre.
Is this a theme with all of Streetlight? Because Pete was the same way, and it blew my mind. And then I'm like, now like knowing Streetlight, I'm like, yeah, that kind of makes sense that y'all come from different worlds.
Yeah, and that's the thing, you know. I think it was. Is it a thing with Streetlight? I'm going to say, I don't know if it's a thing because I can't really say it's a thing, but I'll say yes. Where there's only 4 guys in that band that were like kind of lifers of that genre. And I think the other guys in the band were guys who went to music school primarily. You know, and we all like music. We all like cool music, that genre. You know, I don't think all of us like grew up listening to that type of music, you know, the way the fans do. Like I find out about the genre from the people I talk to after the shows, you know, like
I love that.
About ska.
So weirdly for me, I was never really I listened to like the Mad Caddies when I was younger and like a bit of Real Big Fish, but I was never really into ska until like maybe the past couple years. And I would say that it's Streetlight that brought me to that world, which I hate saying because I know you guys don't really identify that way. But yeah, 100%.
Interesting. But what album was it that you checked out that was like, okay, these Streetlight guys made this, so now I'm into the whole genre? What album was that?
To be honest, I think it was actually meeting other fans who were like really big on ska, and then
Yeah,
they
they're-
would be like recommend other music. But my first album was
If you say Keysby Nights, Matt's gonna walk.
no,
No,
it
no,
wasn't Keys B, and it wasn't
No.
Everything Went Numb.
I'm just kidding. I love all those albums.
It might have been Numb. It might have been Numb actually.
Okay,
It was when I
yeah.
was in high school.
It's funny to me, Matt, because you're in Streetlight Manifesto, but I was probably a fan of the band that you're in before you even knew who they were. Is that sound
Yeah,
right?
literally. Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
I go back to Catch 22. That was my first introduction, like with Top.
Yeah, I go back with them. I literally go back to them to February 2007. It was January in 2007. I just left college. I think Mike Brown had just joined the band. And they were like, yeah, our trumpet player's about to leave. You want to play in this band? They record and tour and stuff. And I'm like, what type of music is it? They're like, they call it ska music. It was like, well, and we got a recording in LA, February 7th. That was it. So that's where I met Tom, was in the basement of the building. We were doing that recording, and we went upstairs and recorded somewhere in betwing. That was it.
Nice.
Oh my god.
No, didn't know them at all. I knew the 4 horn players. Like, I'd went to school with those guys.
Mhm.
It was kind of a weird road because Chris Stat, like, I used to do this thing called Drum and Bugle Corps. It's like super nerdy marching band stuff, but it's awesome. I take back the nerdy, but to other people it might be viewed as nerdy, but to us we're very
Nerdy's
serious.
cool here.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
nerdy is cool.
Yeah, it was very serious. Like, if you were a little kid and you wanted like the touring experience and you had like a classical instrument, like back in that day, like pre the year 2000, you could join a drum and bugle corps, right? And if you were a band kid, that was like the army for band kids. Like, you're touring country, you're rehearsing for 16 hours a day, you're away from your parents. There's like, at night you're doing shows in stadiums in front of 10,000 people under big lights. It was like,
Nice.
it's like I don't even know how to say. It was like army training camp for what I do now for the Streetlight thing. It's so weird because I'm not trying to talk about myself at all too much. That's another thing I hate, is talking about myself. But when I went to college, I was trying to cultivate a unique thing to fit into it. Like, since I didn't know the ska verse, it was like, how do I fit in with the whole music thing? Like, I like jazz music. I'm nowhere near as any of those guys in New York City in 2007. So it all came about in a weird, perfect storm that afforded me more years to be able to practice to eventually get good, Probably the same thing for
Nice.
Sonetta
Incredible.
too, like how you got into making movies and stuff like that,
Oh yeah, it took like a decade, and I'm still like
young,
Shit.
you're still young, you're still young. So it's like, you know what I'm
Thank you.
saying? So it took that decade. So that's like you starting at like 19 or 20,
Mm.
Yeah,
you're right. I shouldn't be so hard on it.
I
I just
I know
keep
you-
practicing things. I just want to be good at stuff.
You're younger than me, and you're already 10 years in. Damn.
Yeah, it's a wild thing. I'm looking at your IMDb, and the thing about you is
Get off of there. I gotta delete it.
I've met you like 3 times. Like, you're never alluding to this. Like, online when you're talking to this girl, you're never alluding. Like, you get it in the messages because the paragraphs are so long. You're like, my thoughts, I can't think that long. Like, I don't think that
You
long
respond with
about
like
things.
cool, and then I'll respond with like 5 paragraphs.
Yeah, and I'm like, wow, that is such a scope of understanding on things. You know what I'm saying? It is like literally like I've wowed a lot of those people. Like, wow, that is man. I got to think about things more because I just don't. So yeah. So let me ask you that. Like, how did you get into that? Like, for me, it was going to college. I met Chris Thatcher at a truck stop in drum corps. I met Pete in college, Mike Brown in school. I met Jim Conti. We were in a random funk band in North Jersey. Tom, I met the night I was recording his album in 2007. That's when I met him. So for you, like, having all those credits, like being born in Canada, how did you get into like the film thing of all things?
So, how do I tell this story?
Yeah.
Well, I've always been a writer. Always, since I was like 5 years old, I was always writing stuff. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we'd be like at a family event, like my sister's soccer or the drive-in or something, and like I was always writing. And people would always pass my parents and be like, "Oh, is
Hey,
she
how
like
you
doing
doing?
her homework? Like, what a good kid." And they're like, "No, she's writing like a book."
Wow,
So
that's
that was
crazy.
kind of like I loved writing ever since I was really little. My parents put me in theater also around that same age, so like 5, 6-ish. I was like writing, and I have like a really crappy children's book that I wrote and illustrated when I was like probably about 7 years old. I still have it. I'm like, one day I will publish this. It'll be a masterpiece.
I want to see
Um,
this.
it's so bad. It's called Baby Trap, and it's about like a mom or a lady who like goes in a time machine or like some magic machine and is turned into a baby. It's so terrible. But yeah, long story short, so I was always writing. I was always acting in theater, and then in high school, I took a film class. And I'd already filmed one thing before that point, and my dad had like edited it when I was in like elementary school. And at my babysitter's house, I used to
Okay.
always like I would transcribe scripts from films. So like Pirates of the Caribbean or different things. And then I would make
Wow.
all the kids there act it out. So I was always doing that when I was little. And then, yeah, I took the film class when I was in high school. And then when I was going into post-secondary, no joke, applied for like 15 different programs, all in the arts. I had like no idea what I wanted to do. So I did like media, arts, digital media, just like visual arts, a few film programs. And then basically when it came down to like actually choosing, it came down to the film programs because it was a way of like incorporating all the arts together. And I was like, this is a good way of like bringing all my loves together. It's going to work perfectly. And then went to my first school and I kind of had like a midlife crisis there because the people I was in school with were like douchebags. And I was like, I'm not going to be able to fit in with these people. They suck. Like, for example, we were
Wow, I
filming.
would never guess that. Would
Yeah,
never
yeah.
guess that from you.
No, it was awful.
Wow.
Like, basically, like we were filming one day on film, like actually on like 16 mil or something, and people like from a different group were like literally throwing stuff onto our set, like paper and shit, like for some reason, and like just being douches while we're actually filming. And it's like you can't redo film, and it's so expensive. And I just did not get it, and
Wow.
I flipped out at them because I'm like, guys, like, what are you trying to do? Like, they were like trying to sabotage us or something. And then somebody walked by me and muttered, I'll always remember this because I was like, who does this? They walked by and muttered spaz at me. And then that was kind
Oh
of my
my.
moment where I was like, I can't deal with this. Like, I can't deal with these type of people. Like, so I ended up actually transferring to university for a year of psychology. And I was like, what am I doing? I'm an artist. I don't belong here. So I went back to film, and then
Wow.
that's how it all went down.
Yo, that is very interesting. You know, I mean, it all makes sense. It kind of does. I mean, because I feel like, yeah, especially the thing like, because in the music scene, we got a thing called vibing. Like, people don't really vibe you in ska because it's all beautiful, happy people wearing yellow and oranges and stuff,
Oh my
and they
god, that's
like
so true.
pizza. Or they like pizza. They're very nice. The ska folks are very nice. That's why I ride with them. They're very nice and they know a lot of things and they're super unassuming. So you see these kids in the audience, but you never know what they do. They're just like us in the band. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like, so the whole audience is like 2,000 people that all got schemes and situations. They all like dope music. You know what I'm saying? So it's very different than, I never want to talk bad about the jazz thing, but the jazz thing is more like court order. So you get a thing called vibing, where it's like people will try to keep you out of that world. That's what you experienced, Miss Sonetta, man. You got vibed.
Yeah,
That's
I
what it
did get
was.
Oh,
vibed.
interesting. Like
I got
gatekeeping.
Yeah,
vibed
it's
hard.
like, yeah, they like try and keep you from getting into that. Well, I have no idea. I've never been a person like that because it's like
Me
I've never
neither. That's why I didn't
really.
get it. Like, what the heck?
Yeah,
Why are people like
yeah,
this?
and it's yeah, and I still to this day, so that's why it's like it's an odd thing because you guys know about Streetlight Manifesto and you guys are super accomplished people, but I'm here. I don't know if both of you guys are in the U.S., but I'm around Philadelphia. So it's like the musicians who are around here are like playing with Rihanna, Jay-Z, John Legend, Sweetie. Like there's a whole universe of like the whole black touring musician thing that literally has no idea that I've been playing in Philadelphia every year to 2,000 people, every single year since 2007, and New York, and Chicago, and LA. And you see what I'm saying? So it's like
Mm.
the vibes are still there even when you air quotes got a gig. It's just an interesting thing of it, and you never know. Maybe it's people just not knowing you; they're just not comfortable with you around. I mean, that's kind of a lame thing to even speak of in an interview, but it is true. And I find that it's weird how those things make us better because it's like it's not even competition necessarily, but it's like it's a little bit of adversity that makes you work harder at it. It's like
Mhm.
would you still have all those things under your belt if they never vibed you that day?
Yeah, for real. Do
You
you do a lot of
know?
gig work as well?
I do like some freelance around here. That's primarily what I'm speaking about is like my kind of attempt at breaking into the gig work around here, which is hilarious because nobody knows who Streetlight is in my universe. You know what? I'll take that back. Two kids do. When I started going to the jams a lot recently, there are two kids in Philadelphia, great trumpet players, great, amazing trumpet players. Like these dudes blow jazz circles around me in a way, I'm not going to lie.
Mm.
But, in a way they do. And yeah, they were listening to the Somewhere in the Between album when they were in middle school. And just because that was so long ago, that was like 14 years ago, now these dudes are master's jazz students.
Oh,
So
that's awesome. That must feel so good.
it feels good, but it's interesting because they're like 28 or 29. You see what I'm saying?
Oh,
You
yeah.
indoctrinated them.
Yeah, so it's like they know about it, but do the people that I'm actually trying to meet know about it? Not really. Not really. So it's just an interesting thing where, like, after time, how, professionals in the field know you for doing a thing that not only do you never think was that super serious, like Streetlight, we don't walk around thinking people are listening to it,
Mm. That's unfortunate.
like we do the shows. Like we do the shows, but like as everybody's living their life, we're not like, hey, somewhere somebody's listening to an album of me. I'm sure that's never crossing nobody's mind in Streetlight Manifestio.
Do you think that's what keeps you guys together so long?
I think so, yeah, because to us it's never really been a thing. It's like we're doing it, and it's a band and it's awesome and we're all doing it. But it's like it's not. You know what? I'll say this. I can't say for us because for me, it's different because I think everybody else in the band has like a real life job. So for
Mm.
me, it's always been, even when it came to writing it, because it's like I'm coming at it. How do I say it? What if we were interviewing you? Like I'm looking at like if I were to look at the IMDb thing, there's a thing called American Gods that Sonetta worked on, right?
You worked on that, Sonetta?
I just did background acting one day, but that's a cool story because I met Marilyn Manson that day. But anywho,
Yeah,
yes, Matt,
anywho,
That's
right? My
pretty
roommate,
cool.
yeah, my roommate watches the show, right? So it's like imagine if we were interviewing her just for her work in American Gods. You know what I'm saying?
that would not be
I'd
a
be
good
like,
interview.
I'd be like, hey, that's too funny. But so,
You
do you
know,
make your living as a musician? Like, would you say?
it's weird. Yes, I have been making a living as a musician, but I'm not like super rich or anything. It's like I especially with this pandemic thing, you know what I'm saying? That
Yeah.
kind of threw me for a loop. But yeah, I definitely have been doing that, but how do I even say it? It's like, and not sound like a weird super capitalist also, because that's another thing. It's like, okay, so you're a musician, right? Or I'm a musician, I'm in Streetlight. After a while, when you go on tour, like a whole lot, like I've been around the whole planet 4 times, right, with that band since '07.
Wow.
You start to notice that your friends can go just because of the jobs they have.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? Like
That's
you
the
can book
art
a
world, I
vacation.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, like you guys can book a vacation. And if you're
Yeah.
straightly doing it as a musician, you maybe not be able to. Like if you're a super mentally healthy person who is very disciplined, you can also be a teacher, and that gives you like your squarer job, And I'm
Mhm.
definitely not trying to be morbid with this description. and how Streetlight has been for me or my life. But it's like when you're mostly making money from that and freelance stuff, you're trying to break into these scenes, like these jazz scenes. You can get to play with these people that are making like 150 grand. Once again, I'm sorry for the numbers, but this is, you're talking to a trumpet player right now. So yeah, explain.
No, dude, I love this stuff. This is, I think people need to hear that because most musicians are poor and no one ever talks about that. And like,
that's the thing.
I remember, I was older than I should be, but I was embarrassed by it to be like having that realization that just because someone's on television doesn't mean they have $1 million. Like,
yes,
I remember I grew up more in like the punk scene in Connecticut, and these dudes would be like 3 or 4 years older than me, and like, we'd go to these punk shows and like scream and cry and like have these moments, and then like a week later you'd be at like Denny's and they're waiting tables, and you're like,
yeah,
it's so true.
Exactly.
I think for all the arts, really, like if you're an independent artist and you're not like I hate to say sellout, but like in the film world, it's like you're either working for Hollywood and you're still probably not making bang unless you're, like a huge celebrity or something. But otherwise, it's like as an independent artist, you need to balance that. Because like I know for me, like I don't want to compromise my art because I'm getting money from a certain source that's going to tell me like how to make it their way kind of thing. Like
exactly.
Bullshit.
Exactly. Yeah, it absolutely is. So that's the whole thing with being like, and this is another word, it's weird. I live in America, so this is a word. Like when I was a kid in New York, they had a word for the guys who played all the gigs. They used to call them giggers. It sounds like another word in America of low social status too, where it's like your life.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think I could say one.
Yeah, it's like that's what it was, because your life is tied off of playing the gigs. So it's like you kind of have to be able to fit into the format that people want to hire you, right? And for musicians, like the kind that we were trained to be, a lot of the dudes in Streetlight, like that was our thing. Like we were being trained to be New York regulars. Like those were the teachers we had. All of our teachers played all the Broadway, all the symphony, all the orchestra stuff. Some of those dudes toured with bands like Steely Dan or played with Barbra Streisand or were in the City Opera. A lot of them were like accomplished jazz dudes, like had their own albums and were part of the lineage, as we call it. That's who our teachers were when we were in university. So when it came to this Streetlight thing, that's kind of the place that's the place I took it, because I didn't know ska, so I was trying to make it like a resume calling card. So when I came to Somewhere in the Between, there's so many different musics on Somewhere in the Between that I'm basically just trying to sell authentically. Like I'm not writing all of the stuff. Like I said, I'm playing a role in it, but I think the thing that makes it like a thing is coming from me trying to bring attention to it that has nothing to do with the ska universe. You see what I'm saying? Like the albums, and don't tell these dudes I say that because everybody thinks I'm a weird egotist, but a lot of stuff I'm playing, I'm trying to get Earth, Wind, and Fire to hear. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
I'm trying to get Jay-Z to hear that and be scared of that. I'm trying to get all of the big boys to hear the little band over here with the sea of white kids wearing yellow and red. They're all short and little, right? And then over here are the big kids. They're all wearing gold teeth and big clothing and showing up in Maybachs. I wanted them to be able to hear that band and get scared.
Nice.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because there wasn't a thing. Like they didn't have the musical component for. It's so weird. I'm not even going to use this word, but it is. It's called world conquest. I'm a trumpet player. See what I'm saying?
I'm a trumpet player.
Yeah, it is. So encoded in the thing is like it's like the spreadingness of it. Like it's weird. It's a weird thing to even talk about because you never want anybody to think that you're big on yourself or crazy. And Sonetta can probably relate to this, but at some point you got to know what you're giving to the whole genre.
What your deal is. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what your feel is, and also what your worth is. Like this is a genre called film. Sonetta Duncan, who are you to be able to comment on it? See what I'm saying? Do you have the scars? Do you have the battle stories? Do you have the triumph wreaths to be like, in film, I'm Sonetta Duncan. And if you talk to me and deal with me about it, you might be able to get up on this level yourself. Maybe.
So, fun story about scars and film, if you guys want to hear it.
Absolutely.
So a couple years ago, making a film prop It's like a cutout cardboard window, but out of like the hard cardboard. Forget what it's called, cardstock or whatever. Ended up cutting my finger with a X-Acto blade, and now I have 12 stitches in my freaking finger that's been scarred. So I literally have the scars.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's all figuratively, because a lot of it, it's crazy. It's like, you know, because I think I met Sonetta at a show. Sonetta is super humble for the powerhouse that she is. You know, it's like, she's never going to tell you. Like, you got to Google it.
Yeah.
She's just not going to tell you who she is. I think I've known Sonetta for like 2.5 years, and she's never let the cat out of the bag. And I totally forgot, but I Googled you before the interview started, and I was like, oh, yes, I remember. You know.
You Googled me during the interview.
Yeah, like half an hour ago. You know, I'm not coming out here, you know. I don't know, you know. He'd had to, you know, because I don't want to be talking crazy. You see what I'm saying? Because it's two very professional people. And like I said, a lot of the times it's so weird. Yeah, so let's go back to the musician's poor thing, right? Here's the thing. I don't even know if I can say this.
Well, you can say it in worst case, it's cut out. Yeah.
You know? Yeah, exactly. I'm going to say this. I think musicians who don't really know what they're doing are poor. How about that? And I shouldn't really say that because I can't say what knowledge is and what steps you can take. But I think, like, I don't know. I think if you're like involved in the ways that things get done, you know, wherever you are, what city you are, that it's going to bring some monetary. It's going to bring it back to you in some way. Even if you do have to get a day job and you're just playing in the bars in your town on the weekend, eventually you're going to have 4 gigs a week and you're going to be making $1,000 every weekend or something. If you're doing like the bar gig, eventually, you know, it spirals to that type of thing, right? So a lot of my experience over the past 10 years is finding who had the juice, like who had the businesses and who had like the situation set up to where, you know, they could really live well as people and be a part of the arts. So
you're like, let me join a ska band.
Exactly.
100 other dudes.
Like, why don't I just have a guitar? Why can't I just be Connor Oberst and just take all that money? Damn it.
Well, the thing is, it's like, it wasn't even about that, because it's like there's huger bands than ska bands that are doing it. It basically, long story short, it got me into the behind the scene things. It's like what it actually takes to make a show happen. Like Sonetta's involved in production, you know, like like all the things it takes to make a show actually happen. And when you see what the artists and the producers and those people are actually really doing back there, because I don't know Streetlight, I just know Tom. You see what I'm saying? I don't know who they are. I'm in a band, but I just know the guy. So I'm seeing the guy do the stuff all day when we're doing the thing. You see what I'm saying? And it's like, wow, that's really
good way of putting it. I see the guy doing the thing, but we do the thing.
Yeah, that's it. You know, so you're seeing the person. It's probably a lot like Sonetta's life. You're at a laptop a lot. You know, you're handling and managing all these things. You know, so it was bringing that tech to the classical instrument artist, where it's like we're kind of more service industry. Like we're either teaching school or we're playing for orchestras. You see what I'm saying? It's like it's very different than what. Yeah, it's different than what people think music is. For if you're like playing an instrument, like you being a solo artist, you're like, I'm gonna be a solo artist. Like, what am I gonna do? Why do I want to do that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll play solos, but I'm not like trying to have pretty pictures and purple hair and you know, be like a solo
You should do
artist,
that purple hair.
You know, it would definitely be a thing. I might do that, you know, or dye it straight platinum blonde like the dude from Demolition Day. You know what I'm saying? That could be so old you guys don't even remember it.
Sorry, I don't.
No idea.
I had to look it up.
Okay, so let's stop right there. Nah, this is the Streetlight moment. This Streetlight moment is great, right? So this is what I try and do at the shows, right? So I've now convinced you too that I'm a nerd and that I'm human and all of those things that make people comfortable with talking to people.
Dude, if you look it up, it doesn't go up on Google. Day? Is that a TV show?
It was a movie, or it was Demolition Man.
Well, you gotta tell us the real thing, or else we can't find it.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah, it was
if you look it up, it
Demolition
doesn't
Man
even
was the movie.
exist.
Demolition Man, 1993.
I
Yeah,
remember the name.
Oh, I see him.
yeah,
That's a good
Demolition
one,
Man.
dirty.
That was
Oh, yeah, it's
okay,
Wesley
right?
Snipes.
So I think that movie is so old to where the future in that movie is right now. If
Whoa.
you guys get a chance, definitely check out Demolition Man. They were exactly right. The future is exactly like in Demolition Man right now. Taco Bell was a luxury restaurant. Cocktail
Still
music
is.
was the Jolly Green Giant.
How dare you
it was
diss
very
Taco Bell?
yeah. It was yo. My girl loves Taco Bell. Like I could
It's
never really
freaking
get
good.
into it. I eat
When I
it every
became
now and again if I'm
vegetarian,
passing.
actually. Oh, sorry, dude. When I became vegetarian, actually, that was one of the things I missed most. Was no joke Taco Bell.
That is so crazy. It's so interesting. So, are both of you guys in Canada?
No, I'm in Rhode Island.
Okay, you're in Rhode Island. She's in Canada. So, I mean, we got to ask more Sonetta questions because it's like, how did you even get like on these levels? You know what I'm saying? That's why I like talking to the Streetlight folk because you never know who they are.
No
They're
one,
so
no one
interesting.
knows. Sonetta and I have never met in
Yeah,
person. At
that's
least.
Chris and I have never met yet.
We're gonna see you in December, hopefully. I just
Yeah.
got my tickets for Boston.
Okay, that'd be cool.
Can I actually do want to ask you though, like, what's it like touring though? From going from like not knowing, like
Wow.
just meeting Tom to being like, hey, nice to meet you. Let's pour our souls into this art. To now let's all get in a van and drive cross country and play some weird ass music in front of some
Sleep in
people.
some weird
Okay.
bunk beds.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I couldn't
you
even
really want to
imagine.
know? For a kid who was 26, and also, so here's the thing. I'm 16 years old. I start in marching band, right? And I'm an insomniac. I'm hanging out with the trumpet. I'm reading weird books, you know. So
Are you
I'm
smoking
up
a lot
in the
of weed?
morning. Huh? What'd you say?
Are you smoking a lot of weed at this age?
Absolutely not. Like in my upbringing,
Really?
absolutely not. Yeah, no, not until I get to college
You were
and I
a good-
meet my homie Sergio. Yeah. I
Okay,
wasn't
so you're a
even
good
good. I was
kid.
just naive. Yeah, I was just a naive kid. Like I think you guys even went to shows when you were a kid. I was a trumpet
Yeah.
Ronin cub. Like I didn't go to
This
shows.
is so
I
funny to me,
watched
man.
Miles Davis footage. I watched Miles Davis footage. I played trumpet technique stuff. I used to walk around in pleated pants. I live in a town called Wilmington, Delaware. One of the greatest trumpet players ever is from here, Clifford Brown. So when I was 14, I was over here at the Clifford Brown Festival, hanging out and studying with a trumpet player named Donald Byrd.
This
That's
is so
where I
funny.
was from 14 to 17. Yeah, and Donald Byrd was one of the people who invented bebop. He's one of the people who invented crossover music.
Whoa.
Should definitely check Donald Byrd out if you have no idea who Donald Byrd is. Check him
I
out.
don't.
Googling now.
For comparison, you and I, we're similar in age. I'm 36, but I didn't grow up in Wilmington, Delaware. But if I did, I would have done the Boy Sets Fire shows because that's what, that. And so apparently you and I would have both been in the same stadium,
Yes.
just different sides. Where I would have been in the
small
hardcore
world.
punk shows you were at.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there was definitely a scene for that. Because there's some people that were from around here. I'm actually from a town called Penns Grove, New Jersey, which is like the edge. It's like a very small little country town, 5,000 populace. It's right at the bottom of New Jersey.
Okay.
Very lucky. Yeah, very lucky upbringing. I came up around a lot of classy and very sweet people. It was a very sweet, sweet upbringing. So I came up playing church music. Like I came up in the gospel church. That's how I kind of have that connection to all of those other. Yeah, and it's funny because the thing you guys call punk rock ska is our shouting beat. And the American gospel church, like that's a shouting beat. So people in the churches I grew up in, they run around and jump up and down and praise the Lord to what
I
you guys
love
run in
gospel
circles.
music. I will not lie.
Yeah.
I
It's a
love
thing, Yeah, it's definitely a thing. So it was weird.
Tom's lyrics are kind of spiritual-ish.
It's a weird thing.
Debate about this. Where are you saying that?
I would say there's some people in certain churches who probably don't like the words he uses.
Yeah, that's a thing. I mean, I think all of that, it's so weird because I think that's just all how you come through, It's like this is definitely nothing with Tom, but I think like with groups of people, it's like I'm never trying to say anything about anything, but it's like We was kids following Real Big Fish and Less Than Jake, doing, it was like, so yeah, for me, I needed deities, but that goes back into that trumpet part.
So I have two
It's
things
like,
for you, Matt. So my first thing is, so actually my very first show I saw of you guys was actually the Real Big Fish tour. Would have been anywho.
That's hilarious.
He dipped.
And they're sweet guys. They're sweet dudes. Real Fish is really sweet guys.
And so that would have been actually right
You
after
know?
you started in Streetlight, because I saw you guys, I think the very first show would have been 2008 when you guys did the Mad Caddies and Real Big Fish that year.
Wow. Okay.
And it's funny. So I have a funny story about this though. So you guys were opening for Real Big Fish. This would have been either 2008 or 2009. And literally, no joke, half the venue left, like of the audience left after you guys performed. So before Real Big Fish came on. Yeah, so that was kind of messed up. And then there's also, I remember Real Big Fish whipped a CD into the audience and nobody wanted it. And like people were just like moshing on top of it. And I ended up grabbing it. And then now I have this Real Big Fish album I've never opened.
Yo, I think I kind of do remember some of that. I kind of do remember some of that. I kind of do. It's like,
it was so random. Yeah, like everyone left for the headliner, but they're just there for the opener.
It's so random because I remember those things, right? I do remember those things, and I definitely shouldn't be saying that stuff in public at all. But I do remember those things because it was like back then in 2007, before everybody was grown up, it was kind of like we were the new dudes on the block.
Yeah,
I do,
especially in like a foreign country.
Oh yeah, in the foreign countries and even in like, playing big places. I remember because the tour it was like it was a Real Big Fish, Less Than Jake, and Streetlight. And we were like, like their little raggedy brothers that they were bringing around to open up for them and whatnot. Like, this is my first time ever being on the road, but like I said, I do kind of remember some of that where it was like, in the very beginning, some of the fans were like very sectarian with the thing. I think then it evolved, like over time it evolved where like every ska fan loves every ska band. Like it got cultish after a while where it's like now the ska fans, 'cause like I said, I'm hanging with them. I'm literally the guy from Robin Hood running around with Robin Hood. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm hanging with them, watching what they turn into as they grow, and they love every band now, But I do remember those days when it was things like that. I definitely do.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that was the RV days. That was like strawberries all over the floor. There were piss bottles and stuff.
Oh God,
it was crazy.
Get an RV with a toilet. What are you guys doing?
We had to take the toilet out. See, what it was the year before I got in, they all had bought an RV because that was a great idea, right? So they took everything from outside the RV and they put bunk beds in it, and they were like these hardwood bunk beds that they built in this RV, and it didn't really work out. It wasn't that safe at all. Like I remember at some point I was laying on my back in one of these beds and I could see the wall flapping off at the side of the roof. And we just kept rocking it. So it wasn't necessarily structurally sound. The toilet wound up somewhere, so we couldn't use the toilet. So we had to pee in bottles and put them in the closet where the toilet was.
Shit.
Yeah, that was Streetlight. 2007 till 2010. Then we convinced the old man to get a bus. So he found the cheapest bus he could find. It was called the Gunship. We had a cool driver named Gio Bomarito. He was like 5'2". He was an interesting man, Gio was.
Aren't all bus drivers fascinating?
Legit.
Bro, they're the heavy, they're the heaviest people. Like I said, the production people, like Sonetta.
The lifers.
It's like, they're the lifers. Like, and this dude's dad was in the diamond business. He drives around the country with the bus and remodels Bed Bath and Beyonds. And he had another friend with him that was a hunter. And this guy had like a certain type of cool shotgun. They were going to hunt boar after they dropped us off after the last tour. I was like, God damn. So this is why I'm employing deities to move around the U.S.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
So Matt, that was my follow-up. So do you have specific deities that you like?
Wow. I can't even. You know what? Honestly, it's so weird. Black Christian, like Baptist in America, right? You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah, I'm familiar.
So yeah, right. So here's the thing. So you got the judging Baptist, and I think that's the white folks, not to be racist about it, because they could judge. Usually,
Yeah,
it's like if
agreed.
you're Black Christian in America, you kind of got to get rid of the judgment because your life might just be shit. You know what I'm saying? You might
Yeah,
everything in the Bible, your life might be different then. So you can't really be judging people. So you're usually using it so you can survive. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like you're
sure.
using it. It's mostly just an engine of optimism, so you can go forward into the unknown. You don't have enough money. You don't have the education. You see what I'm saying? So now you have to step forward into this unknown space and dominate it for survival. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so which
Yeah,
deities do I use? It's weird, right? Because I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm a super religious dude. It's like I just try to be good to people. You know what I'm saying? I just try to be good to people, and I try to go around giving out good energy. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure there's a name for one of them that does that. So that's the one I rock with. It's a blessed situation when you can be a part of the stuff that people love. So you're just trying to go around and do it justice, but also do yourself justice artistically. So I feel, Streetlight is a cool vehicle. So to answer the question, I say the one of self, and that's embarrassing to answer. You see what I'm
I
saying? Because when you're
appreciate this
raised Christian,
answer.
you're not supposed to conceive of. You know what I'm saying? You're not supposed to conceive as yourself, even though Christianity tells you you're the son of. You are the living son of the deity made in that thing's image. You're not supposed to believe that you have the same characteristics of that thing, like prestidigitation, multiplication, the ability to heal, the ability to call things into existence, like little rusty garage bands and make them, world world touring like scimitar sounds that people know and think are real bands. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, all these little. You see what I'm saying? All those little things get to open up in your mind if you got room for the grandiose. So that's why I think, using a deity in the arts, or even having the concept of a deity in your head is valuable because if you think like people, you'll get people results. You see what I'm saying? But if you can think on a higher
yeah.
level, on a level that you can do more service, like how can I do the most service? You know what I'm saying?
So
Then
my
Well,
grandfather had
it might come back.
um my grandfather had a really good thing that, well, my grandma always told me, but my grandfather said it. So she always said that my grandfather was one of the most Christian men that she ever knew. And it wasn't because he went to church every Sunday, and it wasn't because he like prayed all the time or anything like that. It was because he would like do good to all the people in his life. He would always help them out every chance he got. Like, it's really at the end of the day, and I think this is where religion, for me, like, I'm spiritual, I'm not religious. I do go to church sometimes, and like, I've read the Bible, like, I get it, but like, for me, it's really about like being a good person is really what it comes down to, and not being a good person because of fear of punishment or fear of hell or fear of any of this shit. Like, it's about really just like being a good person because you genuinely, like, that's what you need to do. That's what comes from inside, and it really is an energetic thing, I think, at the end of the day. But it's just my beliefs.
Sounds like
And the thing,
human.
and also continuing with that, like here in the U.S., you know how the U.S. is all like thing based, like it is very capitalistic. Like you guys are very nice people, but I mean, my man, you're in Rhode Island, right? So it's a get money state. That's what we do around here. You know what I'm saying? So then it gets into you have these gifts, like you have the gift of film, right? So over here in like kind of the Black Baptist thing, you have this gift, so now you have to walk on it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like,
And
it's kind of like your
gift, you have to
purpose.
use it as service. Not the same. Yes, you're obligated, right? So that was a big thing in my childhood. It's like, okay, I can kind of play the trumpet enough to annoy people. So how do I grow this gift, and that puts it into like the myth, now it's in the mythos thing. I think we had a small talk about this earlier, to where it's like it's easy to put yourself off into the mythical side of things, to where you study your craft, you're here to be of service, you know. So if someone asks you to get on an RV and drive across the US in a genre of music that you've never really heard, you'll do it, you know.
I still can't get over that part.
It gives you an
And you're
opportunity
like, sure.
to be of service with your gift.
Yeah.
It's your duty. It's like you said about being like in the military training for band kind of thing. Like it's your duty.
Yeah. Yeah, it's your duty because you can do
service.
it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you know, yeah, and the people give back to you, and they do, you know, like just hanging with you guys, you know, and like even being at the shows, it's kind of a magical thing.
It's
You
the
know, at
closest
end
to
of the day, it's
spiritual I
like,
get.
with the ska thing, from what I'm observing, because I'm a jazz dude.
So
yeah,
on-
there's selling love. There's a lot of love. It's like, you know, even in big
Yeah.
shows in general, you know.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
well,
say
it's
on-
funny. Oh, sorry, go
sorry.
ahead, Sonetta.
Well,
just a quick antidote, or whatever, antidote, whatever the freaking word is. So last Streetlight show that I went to see, which was in Jersey, so it was actually your last show that you had, end of 2019, I guess. I keep forgetting 2020 was a year. A dude actually said at the end of the show to us that did I get the dates right? A dude actually said to us at the end of the show, dude, now I know why people go to church. This is like the most like spiritual connection I've had, being around all these people, and we're here for the same thing. And like he like went into this whole rant about like how this show specifically, and it was the last show, so December 22nd, I think, 2019. He went into this whole rant about how it was like he gets now why people go to church, coincidentally, and like why they have this sort of like, I don't know, group of people that they are like-minded with, and then like they feel connected with, and then they feel like it brings them to a different spiritual level. But I thought that was so funny because I'm like, this is how I felt. This is how I feel at shows all the time.
Yeah.
Thanks for saying it.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I think it's beautiful, and I think they all go hand in hand. And I think sometimes, like, you know, especially with the religion thing, there's so much history on it, that there's so much history and negativity with it, that it's like it's sexier press than like a show or like anything, even sports. You know, there's really something to that human herding thing where they all just feel good, because like when you're looking down at the crowd, it's all one single thing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's all one organism. And from my perspective, I will definitely say they're kind of making it happen. Like the crowd is kind of making the thing happen. Like when you get into the middle of the show, like, you know, it's very out of body. You know, not to get floofy la la woo woo, but that's where I'm living at. You know what I'm saying? That's where I live at, you know, being a musician. Like, yeah, it's very out of body. Like it's an hour and a half or hour and 45 minutes. It really feels like 15. You know, you're doing like, you know, it's definitely, you're definitely in the third place making that stuff happen. At least for me, that's how music has been. You know, like I'm better in the performance than I am in rehearsal. So it's like, yeah, it's definitely it's definitely a thing to where it's like, yo, I feel happy to be a part of this. You know.
So there was a really cool experience I had when I went to your guys' 300 cap show. And so I went with my dad. It was the first Streetlight show I've ever brought my dad to, and we traveled all the way from Toronto to Jersey, which was epic. And so we stood on the balcony overlooking like the crowd. And seriously, so I have some footage of this that I put on the YouTube thing. But basically, it was like the watching because I'm always down as part of the crowd. And then this was the first time when I was ever actually like watching like audience from like above up and like or above down, and it was like the way that everybody was moving, it's like exactly like you said, Matt, like it's like an organism. Like you're watching the energy flow. Like it was like it was mind blowing, because it was like you're actually watching these people like go around, like the movement. I can't describe it without like actually like showing a visual, but it was like it was the first time where I got it. Like I got how it worked, and like I had like a big epiphany from it. I'm like, oh my god, this is like I get it now.
Exactly,
that was
right?
really cool. Yeah.
So it's like, so that's my experience, like touring. We'll go back to that question so we can keep it moving. Like, what is it like touring? If you're crazy and you think that that's what you're supposed to be doing in your life because of like the pick of destiny, you know what I'm saying? Then it's very
Pick a
comfortable and
Destiny. Do
awesome.
not drop Tenacious D references with me. I love them so much.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if that's where your head is at, which I think most artists are like, because you're young, there aren't any wife and kids yet, you know what I'm saying? Congratulations, my man over there being married. You know, it's like there isn't any of that yet. So you're like in this story, like you're young man, like you're Jason and the Argonauts. You're out there, you're playing this music, you're trying to get this done. I don't even think you know why at that point. I don't really think there was a why yet. You know what I'm saying? I definitely don't think there was a why yet, but we're just like, nah, we're just doing it. We're just doing it to do it. Like, we'll take these drives. People are fun. It's just great to be a part of that process in the world, like how energy flows from nothingness into somethingness into a group of people, and it's like, are the people making that or are you making that?
Or collectively, are you making it together in a way?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, are all these droplets forming all around the country, by happenstance, and what comes out of that? People get married out of those things, businesses get formed, now I'm rambling about nonsense, but
well, it's
not nonsense.
No, it's not nonsense. It's great. Well, I mean, it's true, right? Like, music brings people together, and like, so like I work my day job. I work in like behavioral health, but like what you were saying about playing on stage, and like when you're like, oh yeah, you play for an hour and a half. It's like 15 minutes. I'm like, oh my god, that is what we would call like that's practicing mindfulness, and like it's Zen. It's science, we'd call that flow state. There's just so many different words to describe the same thing.
Exactly. So here's the thing. Now we're going back to the other questions. Yeah, a lot of musicians are poor, right? My thing is that those chemicals become addicting. You know what I'm saying? So you do have to watch yourself, because, it could lend itself, because it's all about survival here. So at some point in your life, or maybe it's not, there's a lot of magic in it. Because at some point as a musician, you're like, yeah, if I keep going, I keep going, that this wellspring of life is going to fall down on me, and I'm going to be able to live from this like all my other friends live, with mortgages, and wives and kids, the houses, the vacations, everybody at the beach all happy, like you're thinking you're going to try to make these things all happen. And it's weird. I guess they kind of do. I can't say they don't, but yeah, I definitely think at some point that yeah, people definitely choose to what are you going to do to support that, and people will get full other jobs, to be able to support being a part of that process. It's
for me, like, I definitely ended up having to get like real quote unquote jobs in order to just even afford making art.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah, no, for real, because it's like that point you're making right now, that is something like I look back on, that it's like I don't like to look in the past and say what I should have done, but it's like, yeah, the stress, that's how a pandemic was for me. The pandemic was such a stopple of stuff. It was such that it gave me a chance to reflect on like how my life had been for the past like 13 years before it, of just nonstop. If it wasn't Streetlight, it was another a freelance thing. And like I said, here I'm trying to run after all these people that have all these more developed careers. You know what I'm saying? And I'm getting my own vibes and my own door slammed in my face. I mean, some things are happening, like great things are happening, but yeah, it's you trying to be a part of something, and eventually, maybe you just wind up being yourself out here, and maybe it works. Maybe
well, that's what I think. Like, age-old thing is like you like, especially as we were talking about like spiritualism and stuff. It's like my thing is like, I'll just be me. Like I've learned this the hard way many times, but I'll just be me. I'll just do my thing, and like whatever is meant to happen is gonna happen. Like that's I have 2 age-old quotes. The first one is everything happens as it's meant to, so don't fret. The second one is
real.
The second one is if you persevere, you'll always end up being rewarded in some regard. So especially when it comes to the arts.
That's real, right? So it's crazy because I was watching, this video of this rabbi talking, right? And it was a rabbi guy talking to a whole bunch of other cats that go to a rabbi church, and they were asking him about business, right? And they were like, yeah, how do we know that these efforts are going to work out? Like, we're out here trying to do all these things, like get this happening, but how do we know it's going to work out? And the rabbi was like, it all works. So that was deep how quick he said it. Like, that's saying the failures, you know what I'm saying? Like the loss of it, like, the feeling of the loneliness feelings, like the pressure. Like, I don't know how much pressure there is with the film thing, but
tons.
Yeah, and competition, because film is like super duper sexy, everybody wants to be involved in film,
and especially being a Canadian filmmaker. Like, Canadian film does not do good.
That's not where it's at. Why not?
Because of America, man. Because you guys have dibs over all of our cinemas.
Yeah. I think it's more America has like.
America owns all of our cinemas, our radio. Like, you guys own so much of our shit. Yeah.
Really?
Brutal. So our musicians, that's why, like, Bieber, for example, like, our only, like, Canadian musician. Mm-hmm. That's why he had to, like, become Americanized. That's why, like, all of our filmmakers end up having to go to America. All of our actors have to go to America. Like, it's brutal.
Comedians, too.
Comedians, yeah. All
can
of
believe that. You know what? I mean, but here is like the mall. It's like, I feel like if you live in countries like Canada, like that is it, it's part of the British thing, it's got some French heritage. So it's like a kingdom. So I feel like Canada is built for people to live in. Whereas like America is here, like you're here to work in and produce stuff that you're trying to make a lot of money off of.
Agreed.
So you can be taxed. Like, that's literally like, and you can feel it. Like, it's the same thing when you step out of the American bubble and people are just like cold chilling. And you're like, what's up with you guys? Why ain't you got no problems? And they're like, we ain't got problems. We don't do problems here. Like, we're not selling problems to make money. And then you go back through the thing, you go back into America, and like the music is loud and people are looking at you weird because your skin is dark. And you're like, oh, we make money off of problems here. That's what we do. Problems and solutions. Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? And you're happy for it because it's interesting. But I will say, during this pandemic, this is the longest I've ever been in the United States consecutively since 2007. It is a hard place. The U.S. is a hard place. Like, there's a lot of beautiful stuff here. And there's a lot of things you can do. Like, there's a lot of opportunity here. I will definitely say that. Like, if you come here, you can come from the bottom to being like a big shit. But it's ahead of it compared to other countries in the world. It's so stressful. It's like a stress barn in this bad boy, and it's very interesting, I find. But it makes the music and it makes those arts, and it's just like it's definitely been a culture shock being in the U.S. for 2 years.
Speaking of flow state, I just checked the clock. It's actually, we already hit our hour. I just felt like 2 minutes. So I just want to make sure I'm mindful of your time. Is there anything that we missed that we wanted to cover before we kind of tail towards the end?
Oh, for me, yeah. Honestly, I think, and it's like, I think this was a great start to one. I do. Like, we all sat down, we had this conversation, Well,
consider this an open invitation. You both are. We could definitely do this again, in person, online. This would be tons of fun. I had to like look up at least twice. I had to look up words, and you guys said something like, "Okay, they are smarter than me."
Lies.
I was like, "What's a deity?" Do you have any wrap up questions? Anything that you had about deities? That's my cat who I'm trying to kick out. Get out.
Nah, I don't. I think I'm more of like a, not so much a question person, but a like when something's going on.
Before we wrap, the funniest thing, I wanted to say this to Matt. I'm sure you appreciate this about Sonetta. We were talking about something podcast related, Sonetta, and I forgot. I was asking. Oh, I remember what it was. I was asking for Sonetta's advice on like a decision we had to make about one of those like fork in the roads, and Sonetta was like, "You know what? let me just meditate on this and I'll come back to you. And I'm just like, that is the most Sonetta answer. And I love it. But have you ever gotten that from her yet, Matt? Let me just meditate on this for a minute.
Absolutely. Like me and Sonetta, like we've spoken briefly, and like, I always think people are more than they appear to be as they walk around in this world. You know what I'm saying? And some people are those type of seer stone people. You know what I'm saying? Where they got like an agenda. We don't know what it is, but we're all cool with whatever their agenda is, and that's who Sonetta is.
So I just want to say,
we've had some conversations, and it's got.
Yeah.
What?
I just want to say, guys, just before we continue with this, I'll surprise you in the fact that I never have an agenda.
Oh, I believe that.
I'm probably one of the only people in existence that does
never have an
actually
agenda?
not. No, I never have an agenda. I'm just a beer. I'm just like, I am how I am.
Yo, that's awesome.
I just like to
what I'm
support
saying?
other
And that's
people.
awesome. And
build
you
them
know
up.
what? I wish and hope to grow to be that person. Like, I don't have a nefarious agenda, but it's like, the last interview I did with somebody was absolutely terrible. I'm doing this one to try and get better. I don't know. I kind of always feel like I have a reason for doing things. And maybe that's bad. Maybe that takes doing things, because some things you should just be doing just on the feel. If you always have reasons for what you're doing, it's like you're missing out on that energy there. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But
are you aware of the
I'm
Facebook group Sonetta started?
I invited Matt to it.
What's that one called?
Friends of Streetlight Manifesto, because
what was
I
that
have
one
now
called?
yes. Folsom. I can now say I have a good sampling of the people who like Streetlight Manifesto, and like after talking with you, it makes so much sense because like Streetlight Manifesto has the greatest fan base because there's people in that group who hate ska. There's people who like are conservative. They're just every different walk of life, but they all love
anti-vaxxers.
Yeah, but the thing is, everyone gets along in there too. They're like, okay, we're just not going to fight about this right now.
This is why the group is so beautiful because it's like so many random people, but they all get along for some reason in the freaking group. I don't get it.
I think that speaks a lot to like you, like your personality and like Streetlight and what Streetlight does. Just it just kind of takes a little bit of sample of everyone from all these different walks of life, and even the people in the band were like, "What's ska? Sure, I'll play." Like
exactly.
I love it so much. I love it so much.
Exactly, and that was the thing because literally, and I'm not gonna space it out for another hour, but literally that was our experience. Like when we're writing this stuff with him, when we were doing it, it was like, yo, we got this tour. Like, what are we gonna do? You know what I'm saying? So it's like you got to put everything on it to try and make it hot. Yeah, it's got a lot of flavors to it. But I will say this about the fans, if I can even call them fans. I mean, the people who listen to Streetlight, it's a very unique group. And I love how they have grown because now they're like, it's like 40,000 ninjas. Like they all do really cool shit, right? They all do really cool shit and they're all really awesome people. So like after the shows, when I'm talking to folks, it's like they're stars to me. I don't even know how to say that, if that makes any sense. Because to me, my life is pretty regular. Like I'm in a trumpet shop right now. My former roommate owns a trumpet shop. So I'm standing in the trumpet shop. I'm in Wilmington, Delaware, Clifford Brown's town. I played some beach gigs this weekend. It's pretty regular life. So when I meet these people, they're people like Sonetta. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
That's who the fans are. They're like production people on national television, or people like you who run podcasts and are organized enough to come and ask my unorganized ass about being on his podcast. You see
At least you said enough in there. I love it. I was like, yep. Organized enough is exactly the right way to put it.
Money and it's not.
I feel you.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's so interesting who the people have become and that they still like listen to the music, But yeah, I definitely want a second interview where I get to ask you guys some, where we have like a more concise talk
Where can people find you online, Matt? Or are you active on social media?
He
Um,
is. Sorry, Matt.
I am actually, yeah, I am, and I would really like to talk to you about that. Yeah, my what is it? My Facebook is what's my Facebook? Matthew Stewart. You
Your
know, I got
Facebook's your name, then you have your company's Instagram, right?
Oh, Sonetta, you got to give this guy some media training.
Yeah, that's true.
I will certainly.
Yeah,
do
that was the thing. The company, Bop Life. That was the company.
Yeah.
Yes, Bop Life.
That
You
is
check
your
out Bop
company.
Life. Definitely run over and friend Bop Life. Yes, that is my company. That was the art marketing company. That's what that was. That was the art marketing holdings company. We wanted to put. Can't even tell you what we were trying to do because the guy from Good Charlotte actually did it with Lionel Richie's daughter. Like the idea we were trying to
shit.
do, this guy actually
Interesting.
got that thing done. With I think
I was
some
a
help from the
good
Canadian
Charlotte
government.
fan as a kid.
Yeah. But yeah, it
Same.
was really, yeah, yeah, and it's kind of amazing because with this whole world of technology, like that touring world, it's not like it's not like it was where that was the sustenance of the big artist, where like you're going out for 30 days, 180 days a year, and that's where you make your living with all this technology and stuff happening. Like you can service more people staying in one place. So there's a lot of interesting things. And yeah, the company Bop Life was us trying to get that habiture started for jazz. That's heavy.
Yeah,
That's a
I
heavy
love
thing.
that.
But yeah, that's it. Yeah, on Instagram, it is the American Wilds. That is my name. And also Bop Life on Instagram. We're about to get the Snapchat started. But yeah, those are my handles.
I think it's bop.life.
What about Sonetta? Where can we find Sonetta at?
Yes, Sonetta, where can
It
people
goes my
find you?
name. You just Google my
Mhm.
name on anything. It comes up. Sonetta Duncan. Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely got to
truly-
talk more about that, because you never explain like how you get that gig. It's like, okay, you went to film school, yada yada, but how do you like get real work? I'm sure there's a lot of people, who are like, how do I even get work as a film person? Like, what is that?
I
That's
can
so funny.
definitely talk about this for sure. Yeah.
Because I feel that way
ramble
about both
for
of you. I was
forever.
like, I don't know. I have like a normal day job. I work at a hospital, and I'm like, how do you guys do it? How do you two do what you do? It blows my mind.
My answer to this is I can't do anything but. I've tried very hard to live other lives, and I cannot. I am stuck being a starving artist is the unfortunate reality.
Wow.
Let's make you all really rich.
No, that is heavy. That is a heavy thing because it's like, that is heavy. Yeah, we need a second interview here, and we'll call that one the interview.
Part 2.
Hello, potential listeners. My name is The Vern, and I'm the host of the Cinema Recall podcast. On most shows, myself, along with some great guests, we will talk about a movie and then some of the most iconic moments that happened in said movie. On top of that, you'll get bonus shows where I will give you short reviews about new and classic movies, or I'll just rant and rave about something going on in the entertainment industry. So come check us out. We're available on Anchor, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, most other places. Don't forget to follow us on social media. On Twitter, we are at cinema_recall. And then on Facebook, Instagram, we are Cinema Recall Podcast. Don't forget to email us your ad spots to play on future episodes. That email is cinemarecall@gmail.com. Hope to see you around, and thank you very much for listening.